Hey everybody, welcome back to the 6th round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, as always, Eddie Mercado. We are coming here talking to you about UFC 243, just went down in Melbourne, Australia at the Marvel Stadium. 61,000 people in attendance to watch Israel Adesanya unify the middleweight title with a knockout of Robert Whittaker halfway through round 2. Hell of a good fight to cap off this card.
That was insanely awesome.
Yeah.
That was everything I wanted it to be. And, oh, man, Robert Whittaker showed up. Adesanya showed up. There was no controversy. There was like a little eye poke, but like Adesanya just took Mark Goddard's shirt and wiped it off and was like, we're good. Like, drama-free, definitive ending. Oh, man, this was so cathartic. Like this was, I needed this sort of ending. Like this was,
you always want to see these big fights that are like, when you get a fight like this where everybody's just like, no, this is the fight you have to see. This is the one we gotta watch. This has to happen. You never want to see it just kind of you go down the tubes for something weird. I mean, even Cowboy versus Ferguson, it was still a good fight, but you hate seeing it end off of, like
an injury
or just something else, something random,
something wonky. Yeah, this was so perfect, and I just love the fight as a whole, the way it happened. Like, Adesanya was so smart. He spent the entire first round just getting his timing and allowing Whittaker to do his thing and lead the dance, and then bam, he drops Whittaker at the end of the first round and could have followed up with maybe a fight-ending blow, but opted not to. Super classy move.
Well, the ref was jumping in there too. I think that was just one of those things where had he had the opportunity, he might have stepped in, but
it was a class move not to do that.
Yeah.
But then Whittaker comes out in the second round though and looked completely recovered, perfectly fine, and got right back to what he was doing, pressuring, using his jab to close the distance, coming with the power hand. But man, Adesanya was just so willing to just stand there in the pocket and exchange.
Yep.
Oh, this was so cool, man.
Yeah, it was a great fight, and people are giving Whittaker a little bit of stick on this afterward, saying, "Oh, he was wild. He was just kind of throwing hands with his chin out, being overextending, letting himself out, putting himself out there to get hurt like that." But I gotta think too that he was looking at how, his own style, how his technique matches up with Adesanya, looking at Adesanya's trouble that he can have being pressured and still had in those moments when Whittaker would pressure him with wild long combos, and just felt like taking the risk. It was worth it to take the risk to throw the kind of heat he was throwing at Adesanya, because you got to look at some of those right hands he was winging and think that if one of those had actually been able to land, he would have knocked Adesanya way out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, credit to Adesanya for just rolling with the punches and making Whittaker not connect fully, because Whittaker was coming. Like I thought he fought the fight he was supposed to. Because what is he going to sit back and just try to go technique for technique with the rangier striker? That's not the move to make.
No, I mean, I was doubting myself all the last couple of days for picking Izzy here, but this was kind of wise, just because when Adesanya is in those kinds of exchanges, when he has an opponent coming after him and getting a little wild, throwing heat, he's just so good about finding that angle to land that perfect counter shot.
Yeah, it's his vision, man. His vision is phenomenal. He sees everything. He's so calm and composed out there that he just doesn't get rattled. Like, even when Whittaker did connect, for one, Adesanya has a chin. He can take the punches. Two, he knows how to roll with the punches, like I was saying. And man, he just he has a feel for it. He's a Jedi or something, man. He's definitely one of the most natural, fluid fighters that we've seen out there, alongside somebody like Anderson Silva. Just, they may not always do the perfect technical thing at every step. People criticize Adesanya crossing his feet, or other things like that Silva used to do all the time too.
but they just have such a great fluid feeling for how to command a fight and what to do in any instance. And they can take whatever fight their opponent gives them and change it to the fight they want. And man, he's amazing at it.
He's so great. Like, how do you go from a UFC noob to UFC champion in less than 2 years?
Yeah.
That's wow. Like, wow.
It's going to be fascinating, too, because now, of course, he's got Borachinha on deck. He's got...
That's, like, even more exciting than this.
Yeah, he's got Paulo Costa out there, and, I think it's fascinating to me because a lot of what people are talking about with Paulo Costa being potentially either a good matchup or a bad matchup comes a lot down to Paulo Costa tending to fight like Whittaker fought this fight here. He can be technically tighter at times, but he also has a lot. His defensive reactions aren't nearly as sharp as Whittaker's.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, he's a tank.
He is a tank.
Costa is such a tank. Like, we don't even know if, like, the same sort of punches will even phase him. Like, his fight with Yoel Romero answered so many questions that I had about him that I'm way more confident picking him at this level. He's got the gas tank. He's got the toughness. Obviously has the power. He's kind of the total package also. And it's not like he's going to come and look for the takedown. So I think it's a very fascinating clash of styles. It's kind of like what we got tonight, but just a beefier, maybe even more durable Borachinha. So I hope that happens soon, man. I really do.
Yeah, it should be an amazing fight when that happens. And, I don't get the feeling, especially what we've seen from Adesanya so far, if his body is holding up, which it has been, he's certainly not the kind of fighter to sit around and wait, No,
definitely not. I mean, he's mentioned about taking breaks in the past, but he's someone who just thrives on the attention and the limelight, and he's going to soak this up. Yeah. So I really expect him to talk his way into even bigger superstardom and maybe not get quite where Conor is, but definitely make a run at it. And
he's certainly going to be a pay-per-view star for the UFC. Almost no question.
But like taken more seriously in the sporting side of it, because he's actually out there murking people and like fighting his division, and he's not off doing other stuff. But he did mention he fought in Marvel Stadium tonight, which by the way is weird that Marvel has a stadium now. Yeah. But he was talking about doing something with them, so maybe he'll be in movies or something, and hopefully getting big fat paydays. Because I don't know what he got paid for this, but I know it wasn't enough. So give him like all the millions, because he is special. What we saw tonight was just special. Yep.
And he did say too, heading into this fight, I'm I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a great time. So it may end up being kind of the Conor McGregor kind of thing, where he runs up the division, he wins the title, defends it, has a big fight or two, and then just is like, all right, y'all, pay me all the money out there, or I'm just going to go do my own thing. I mean, I think honestly, like, that's the smartest way to run your MMA career.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Top, make that money and ride out into the sunset before everybody starts catching you.
I mean, if you look at all the big names in the UFC, the majority of them have a lot going on business-wise outside of fighting. Yeah. And it's sad that even has to be a thing, but like it's smart and should definitely be a thing. But oh man, I'm so high off of this.
A good couple more years of him fighting anyone and everyone.
Yeah, like even Yoel Romero, I still want to see that happen.
Sure. He's talked about fighting John Jones. I'll watch it.
Oh, I'll pay all the monies for that one. Yeah. All the monies. Who would you take? Would you take Izzy in that? There's no way.
I wouldn't take Izzy in that fight. No. But, I mean, the thing with Jones is that he could – Adesanya clearly could win it just because we have seen Jones be so willing to be complacent out at range.
But that's usually against, like, guys he doesn't really take seriously.
Yeah,
Like
but
he will Izzy doesn't have the ground game from what I understand to mess with the John Jones. But like that's another time. I don't want to get into that right now.
yeah, I mean, but you could say the same thing about Thiago Santos doesn't have the ground game to mess with John Jones. It's just
Yeah, but Santos doesn't even have the stand-up game to mess with John Jones.
Yeah, but he did, and it's all it just depends on what John Jones is, what he's thinking about going into a fight. I would take him every time, no matter what. I just it would. That's why I want to see it. I'm fascinated to see it because I don't know how interested John Jones is in putting together dominant fights.
Well, what do you think about a rematch with Robert Whittaker? Do you think that'll ever happen or have a reason to even go down?
I think the UFC is not going to run that one back in a hurry. Whittaker, as much fun as much as he's endeared himself to hardcore fans, he's never a fighter who's moved the needle a tick for the UFC. So I can't imagine with Costa right there, and with even with Cannonier, Whittaker is he going to do bigger numbers than Jared Cannonier?
Not necessarily. Maybe in Australia.
Yeah, but in terms of like global pay-per-view numbers, Robert Whittaker is just, he's not the dude. Like his second fight with Yoel Romero, a fight that was an all-time, like everybody in the bubble excited for this fight, could not be cooler or bigger, did 250,000 buys.
Yeah.
It's
sad.
It is.
And that just goes to show, this clown shoes sport that we love so much will forever be sports entertainment. Like it will forever be the spectacle and the sport as together. They can't exist without the other.
Yeah. And so for Adesanya, if he can drive 500,000 buys against whoever he fights, because I could easily see him being that kind of fighter.
Yeah.
Then I can't imagine that Whittaker is going to be at the top of the UFC's list to give him an immediate rematch.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's sad but true.
A win or two, and he could, it's going to be one of those things, I think, just where the UFC is going to be like, well, you got to earn your shot with a win or two, and if he does, he'll get the fight if Adesanya is looking for an opponent at the time, and, it is deciding between Robert Whittaker and Jared Cannonier or something like that, then, yeah, I can easily see Whittaker getting that, but I do think he's going to have to go out and fight more fights.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because he's freaking really good. Like
he is, but he also has only fought one. He fought once last year, and he'll only have fought once this year, and it's just
some time off might actually be good for Whittaker. Like just be healthy for a bit, and because he had that like crazy surgery. What's that?
I said time off is all he's had lately,
but not by choice. Yeah. Like it's all been that crazy surgery he had. Like he almost died. Like
I know.
The fact that he's still fighting at this level is insane.
Yeah. My guess is he's going to try to turn around and go back in pretty quick and get another fight and bounce back.
And like I heard a lot of people going into this complaining that Izzy was even getting the title shot.
People are stupid.
It's so dumb because like the resume isn't quite there. It's like the only legit person he beat was Kelvin Gastelum that was like in contention, but like it doesn't even matter. Like he is that good. He's the truth.
And I'm sorry, but you go out and you win 6 UFC fights in 2 years, fighting 4 times in 2018, and you beat Anderson Silva and Kelvin Gastelum on your way. Like, of course he deserves the title shot.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to give it to, like, Luke Rockhold? You going to pull Michael Bisping out of retirement?
With his one eye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
It blew my mind. It's like a complete just lack of actually looking at him as a fighter and just looking at him on paper.
Which, it's absurd. He's clearly got all the talent. He's become the best middleweight in the world today. He may not be next time he steps in the cage, but that remains to be seen. And I'm certainly going to be picking him,
And I'll tell you what, this card wasn't that great. So ending on this note was what it needed for it.
Yeah, it was
just
a card
to make up for it.
It was a card booked where Adesanya Whittaker had to be perfect, because even going all the way back down the card as we're going to, there was a lot on this card that was just kind of bad.
Like extremely bad.
Yeah.
Like even like this questionable split decision, like
yeah.
I guess we should get to it.
Let's talk about the co-main event, which was both good and bad. Yeah. Dan Hooker defeated Al Iaquinta. Great showing for Hooker. Probably the most composed I've ever seen him in a fight. I didn't believe he could be that composed a fighter when
everywhere too.
Yeah.
Like he was in command the whole time.
Better wrestler, better grappler, stood behind his jab, behind his low kicks, chewed Iaquinta up all over.
Better decision making.
Yep.
Like one of the most complete performances to date.
On the flip side, man, did Al Iaquinta look bad in this fight. Like, this was worse than the Donald Cerrone fight. This was worse than the Khabib Nurmagomedov fight. I have never seen Iaquinta look this bad in a fight.
Well, he did get choked. He did get that one Darce when he was on top and got choked unconscious.
We've seen him make some boneheaded move. We've seen him have some stupid losses, but I have never seen him look just this totally outclassed.
Yeah, he just had no way to close the distance. And once those leg kicks started coming, he was forced to switch his stance. And then he was fighting southpaw, and he just couldn't. He's not the same fighter when he fights southpaw.
Yeah, he's not a southpaw. He looked like, he knew how to stand in the position, and he knew that he still had to punch, but it wasn't like his mechanics were half of what they are out of his right hand.
He looked desperate, I guess is the right word. He looked desperate.
It's rough to see for a guy who has had, who lost a fight this way just a few months ago, and to come out and just have somebody else sit down on the same tools and have Iaquinta just look like he had never seen it before.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to credit Hooker for that. Hooker just outclassed him.
I have to credit Hooker for it too, but this is, it's weird because Iaquinta's he's not going to take a serious step back. He's a top 10 fighter in the UFC lightweight division. So he's not going to, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, well, go fight Jim Miller now or something like that. It's going to be like Alex Hernandez or, Islam Makhachev or something like that.
Ooh, I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that too, but it's, Iaquinta hasn't bought himself any layups here, and this is just a terrible loss to be coming off of.
And I think it's just, he's a gatekeeper. Iaquinta is a gatekeeper.
He is off this performance.
He let him through. Like, what was it, Hooker 15 coming in?
Yeah.
Iaquinta 6. And I think this is just Hooker coming into his own, and this is his time to make a run. Because he looked freaking great out there.
He did. He looked fantastic.
And I want to see what he can do against, a wrestler who can actually close that distance and make him fight off takedowns for real and not desperate shots.
There's not. Of course, when you're looking at the top of the lightweight division right now, he's not going to get that fight. I mean,
I was kind of hoping the Islam Makhachev fight would be a thing. Like him and Islam. It's like that. I crave that fight.
Makhachev, though, he's he's down there at 14 with
Hooker.
But Hooker's going to be sniffing the top 5 after this.
Yeah, so Hooker, he just beat the number 6 guy. But I mean, why not make that fight though? Like, why not make it somewhere on that side of the world? It makes sense.
It would. I mean, if I were Hooker, he called out Dustin Poirier, which I don't think will happen. Unless Poirier is just like, well, I want to get a win, so I think I can beat this guy, and I need a fight, which could be, coming off a hard loss, Poirier may just feel like, I just want to get back out there and get another fight. But otherwise, I got to think he's probably going to end up more likely targeting like Paul Felder.
Yeah, Poirier's definitely punching up. He's not like, man. Yeah. That would be a huge step down to fight Hooker. Or like not necessarily a step down, but like I guess pay-wise, a big fat step down, but risk-wise, it's such a major risk to fight someone like Hooker.
Yeah. Yeah. Poirier's going to take that pay cut no matter what. But yeah, it's not a fight that I expect Poirier to want to go fly all the way to New Zealand to fight Daniel Hooker at home.
But like, I'm also okay if he fights like Cowboy, someone who can kick also, you know? Yeah. That's definitely interesting. Felder, he was talking crazy, like he wants big fights or he's done. So yeah. I don't think you'll see Hooker as a big fight. So,
if Hooker gets up near that top 5 ranking off this, Felder might do it because he was just saying he wants to fight a top 5 guy, and the UFC can just turn around and be like, well, here you go.
And forget Edson Barboza, another phenomenal kicker.
Yeah.
He's out there needing a fight.
Yeah, it's just too bad for Hooker looking at these names that like Cerrone and Barboza and Poirier, they're all coming off really rough losses. So, it's going to be like, are the matchmakers going to want to go the winner-loser route on this fight? I guess they did for this.
They did for this.
Here, but
you got to prove yourself.
Yeah.
And why is Anthony Pettis still ranked?
I don't know. The UFC rankings are, bad.
Call a spade a spade, Zane.
That brings us down to a heavyweight bout. Tai Tuivasa, Sergey Spivak. This is one of 2 fights tonight where it was just like going into this, you're like, okay, even if Tuivasa has the worst fight of his life, he can probably still beat Sergey Spivak, right?
Yes. He should. He should, in theory. Yeah.
I mean, they're talking about Tuivasa is extra motivated. He's working harder than ever. He's,
strength and conditioning.
He's getting up before 9 a.m. And has he like worked on a wrestling takedown at all? On any wrestling defense? Because every single thing Spivak tried worked. Like once Spivak realized that he could hip toss Tai Tuivasa. He could head and arm throw. A heavyweight hitting a head and arm throw.
I hate seeing that, but it worked. He actually went for the headlock too, and I'm like, man, stop doing this. Like, yeah. When people get headlocks, and like the guy that's getting headlocked doesn't take the back, it pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like that's what you do. If someone puts you in a headlock, that's like white belt stuff. You take the back. There's always exceptions, but like this wasn't that. This was just a lack of technical muscle memory to escape. Yeah.
Like I knew that Tuivasa had a really bad grappling game back when he fought James McSweeney in 2016, but he's been in the UFC ever since, and he's been training with reasonably decent camps.
Yeah, because he's out there in Tiger with George and Frank Hickman, who are phenomenal wrestlers. I mean, yeah, Volkanovski's out there too, and
exactly, he's been training with good people. He's been fighting the kind of fights that show him that where he should know going in that if you're fighting Andrei Arlovsky, if you're fighting Blagoy Ivanov, you got to be prepared and have a full, well-rounded game. And Sergey Spivak just absolutely took his lunch money after a bad start to the first round.
On the bright side, though, at least Tuivasa is throwing less punches while he's fully mounted.
Yeah, I guess. For Spivak, this is going to... I wonder what this is going to do for Spivak. First of all, it seems like it saved his UFC career entirely. But I wonder if it's just going to the UFC is going to be like, well, you beat Tuivasa, who's ranked 14, so now you're going to fight, Augusto
Sakai.
Or what?
Augusto Sakai.
Yeah, fight Augusto Sakai or something like that. It might be. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping they book him against Todd Duffy. I think that would be
Sure, if they're not going to run that fight back, whoever he fought last time.
I don't need to see Todd Duffy versus Jeff.
Whatever his name is.
Nobody needed to see that fight in the first place.
I mean, is Alexei Olenek still fighting?
I assume so, but I think he hurt his knee pretty badly.
Because that would be actually an interesting matchup. If dude's coming to hip toss someone who wants to be on the ground anyways.
Yeah, I mean, Alexei Oleinik is the gatekeeper to the top 15. He's the IQ test gatekeeper of just like, are you smart enough to know that if you drop down on top of Alexei Oleinik, he will submit you. But Spivak, I wouldn't have ever had him anywhere near that. Jeff Hughes. Now, Jeff Hughes, Rafael Pessoa in UFC Singapore, so they're definitely not running that Todd Duffy fight back.
Okay. Well, yeah. Either way, there's some really bad, like lethal strikers that are waiting for him.
Yeah, so. I mean, it's a really weird win to come off of to go from just getting totally the floor mopped with you by Walt Harris to then fighting Tai Tuivasa next and winning that fight. Like, who knows where Sergey Spivak is at right now?
Yeah, it's a tough. It's not a fair litmus test.
No,
like it's not. You can't. There's nothing. We learn nothing really about Spivak. This is more about Tuivasa's lack of evolution, I guess. Or
yeah, I think it's really seriously just it's the kind of loss that for Tuivasa you've just got to be like, well, I don't, you're kind of a write-off right now at heavyweight until you go out and you actually really prove that you can beat anyone at this level again.
Yeah. And like, maybe this is what happens when, you get fast-tracked when maybe you shouldn't be getting fast-tracked.
Yep.
Like, he had no business fighting Junior Dos Santos.
He had none.
Absolutely no business. Blagoy Ivanov, a little different. But like this, I don't even know, man.
Yeah.
And he's such a likable dude.
He is.
Like, he has so much charisma and is so much fun.
And he's only 26, so he's still a child in heavyweight terms.
And he's so active, too. Like, he's always fighting.
Yep.
Like, he's on every card.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a thing where he's fighting too often to actually take the time to get better, technically.
But, like, the money's too good for him to not fight.
Yeah. Either way, hopefully this is a wake-up call for him, and he can take more advantage of all the physical skills he obviously has. He's got the toughness, he's got the power, he's got the speed to be an elite heavyweight, but he's just not putting any skill behind it.
Yeah, I think it is. Like, I think you nailed it. He needs time away just to get better, just to grow.
For that, Diego Lima beat Luke Jumo, and a wild scorecard turned in there for Jumo. Part of me says I could almost understand it because the round one was literally 7-9 in strikes. So if one judge is just like, well,
nah, man. If you get dropped with a leg kick, that's substantial damage.
I agree. But if one judge is just like, oh, I hate seeing a fighter fight off their back foot, I could understand how they might score that for Jumo. I don't like it. I think it was pretty clear. And then everybody gave Jumo round 3, just where he seemed like he landed the harder shots. But yeah, even still,
that was a homer call right there.
I had it much easier to score 30-27 for Lima than I would have had 29-28 for Jumo.
Absolutely. Like, it was, I definitely didn't agree with it. Yeah. But dude, Lima's actually, he's on a 3-fight winning streak in the UFC.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
He's tightened up his defense, and then as a 6'2" welterweight, the dude just has a physical frame that's going to be tough to deal with if he can keep volume out there and not get knocked out.
I completely wrote him off back in 2015 when he was just getting knocked out by everybody, and then even went into Titan FC and was getting knocked out. And I was like, I even remember one time I made a really inappropriate comment about how Diego Lima was created just to be farmed for parts for Douglas. And like, my foot's in my mouth because here he is, actually stopping people in the UFC and actually being composed and, actually being a pretty decent fighter. Like, I'm proud of him.
Yeah, he seems like a really nice guy too. So
I'm super. I can't think of someone who's made such a turnaround like that. Like, just getting completely just destroyed after time and time again, like quick first round knockouts, and then just like out of nowhere getting into the UFC off of a knockout loss, like, blew my mind. And I was like, what? And then he gets back in and gets choked out and then loses a decision. And I'm like, why is he in the UFC? And here he is stringing a little winning streak together. I'm blown away. Like, I can't think of someone who's done that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. To open the pay-per-view main card, heavyweight bout, Yorgan De Castro, Justin Tafa. And this was just a slobber knocker.
This was crazy.
Yeah. I'm glad this was the fight that it was booked to be. Because if it hadn't been that fight, it would have been the worst heavyweight slog after 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, man. But it was great. Like, the big men, they met in the middle, exchanged crosses, and then Tafa clinched up for a little bit. And then as soon as they broke apart, Tafa came back running in with some craziness. And De Castro actually hit a slick step-back check hook and just hit it in the most perfect way possible. Like, you could not land any better than that.
No. I mean, Tafa was, I don't want the interviewers to put the mic in the face of people who just got KO'd, but I feel like he could have given us some valuable insight as to what the other side looks like if we just got him in those few seconds right afterward, because he was so far gone that it was that whole, like, what was the classic Overeem? Was it Pat Barry gif where like the butterflies coming out? Who was that?
I don't know, but this was crazy.
I can't remember. I'm just talking nonsense.
I wish this was like a little more of a high profile fight, so that way whoever does those like funny cartoons of fights, of MMA fights, would come and redo this one and have him like, he knocked out and then his soul rises from his body and like goes somewhere for a bit and hangs out and then eventually comes back. And this was one of those moments. Like, a heavyweight went cold.
Yeah. True
heavyweight. Like cut into 265 heavyweight went cold.
Yeah.
Like, eyes open cold.
It was an amazing, amazing one-punch KO. Credit to De Castro, because, I mean, credit to him, because I was watching tape for this and I felt a bit like, De Lima, or Tafa rather, I'm getting a little mixed up here. Tafa was, he's the brawler. He's coming out there to put pressure on, to throw volume. I trust that over more than a guy who's as young as De Castro is in his career and is trying to find those perfect counter shots. Yeah. Which really seemed to be all De Castro's game.
And who throws a lot of naked leg kicks.
And who throws a lot of naked low kicks. And credit to De Castro. He found that perfect counter, and it could not have been any better.
Yeah, totally switched off Tafa here. Yeah. And like, and handled it like a true G, He's like, oh yeah, you're knocked out. I'm just going to stare at you for a second and walk away. No need for that extra BS. I'm going to just do my thing and, go home. And in his post-fight speech, he was like, all right, let me get my bonus and I can get up out of here.
And he did. He got the bonus too. So
good for him.
Credit to the UFC for giving the bonus to him. Adesanya got one too. And then the two men who absolutely deserved it that we'll get to a little lower down, Brad Riddle and Jamie Malarkey getting fight of the night.
Sweet. Definitely deserved that.
Yeah.
That was a banger.
Huge win for De Castro, though. And, ironically enough, the walk-off KO against the Mark Hunt protege.
Yeah, and it was a great way to open up the pay-per-view main card. So, like, the opener and the outro were just phenomenal.
Yep.
And then, like, the meat was, like, decent, I would say, minus the Lima fight. But
yeah, I mean, like I said, Iaquinta, that fight really soured me just because
how bad Al looked.
For how bad he looked, yeah.
But I think that was a lot of just Hooker looking really good.
It may have been. It's one of those things where with fights like Iaquinta, Hooker, and Spivak Tuivasa, on one side, I'm like, hey, this guy looks great. He looks better than ever before. This is a performance I didn't think they had in him. And on the other side, I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think in the Tuivasa case, like, that fight's more about him and I think Hooker versus Iaquinta is more about Hooker rising to the occasion than Iaquinta in some sort of slump, even though he can't defend leg kicks.
Or the jab.
Or the jab. Or close the distance.
Yeah, I think it might actually be both. I think it might be kind of a bad reflection on Iaquinta.
Yeah, you're right. It is both.
All right, let's get to the prelims, though. And another forgettable bout. Jake Matthews, Rostam Akman in the feature prelim. And, man, I get it, Matthews. You've got your pride. You've got I'll prove them. I'll show everybody. I don't want to hear any BS about how good this guy is at X, Y, or Z. But it kind of sucked to hear like him at post-fight be like, yeah, I heard the announcers talking about what a great striker Rostam Akman was, and I'd come out with the plan that I was just going to out-wrestle this guy, but I'm like, I'll outstrike him instead. It's like, man, but did you have to just like barely edge him for 3 rounds of the slowest kickboxing bout imaginable?
I don't even know if that's true or not. I'm just going to say I don't believe him.
Maybe you don't believe him, but
I don't believe him. Either way, honest to God, I started falling asleep during that fight.
Yeah.
Like grown men were fighting and I'm like dozing off. Like that's not okay.
No.
And like it's bad when the commentators are repeatedly calling it a sparring match.
Yep.
And then like Matthews gets the win and he's all like flexing like It's like, damn, dude. That fight was terrible.
Yeah, and most of that really is just a reflection of Rostam Akman, who landed 5 strikes in each round. But, for Matthews, too, it's like, okay, so you landed like 15 strikes in each round. That's not, this isn't making me feel like, oh, man, you really took this guy to school. It's more like, yeah, you just kind of coasted against somebody who had no clue how to find the distance on you at all.
Yeah, he played it as safe as can be.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in that.
It gets you the win, but it's not going to get him any bigger fight.
Or fans.
No.
I'm done with this fight.
Yeah. Let's talk about Callan Potter, Maki Pitolo. And just like Spivak Tuivasa, this is a fight where I was just like, man, Pitolo on his worst day probably has this. And nope.
Nah, he got stung early, being too willing to brawl. Like it was a brawl right out of the gate. Lots of swinging and banging, and it was. I think it was a left hook or like 3 left hooks. Like
it was
landed.
Like 75 left hooks.
No, I mean that like initially rocked Pitolo here, and then like I feel like ever since then he was a little more gun shy. Like he still was throwing back, but like throwing back in place, not throwing back as he's coming forward.
Yeah, and I think, too, it's just for Potter, I think this was probably a fight where he just knew, like, I gotta eat shots and I gotta know that I'm going to get hit and I'm going to get hurt and I got to fight my way through it and get a tough win because I don't want my UFC career to end right now. And he showed up to do that, and Pitolo did not show up with that in mind. He showed up thinking, I'll just be better than this guy. Yeah. And
nope.
Yeah,
he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
I mean, Potter did his thing, He brawled when he had to brawl, and then he clinched when he had to clinch, and actually found a lot of success inside of the clinch, landing really nice knees, short shots. And then come the 3rd round, he's like, all right, let me go ahead and just hit some throws here, find top position, lock it down, and get myself a win. And shout out to Dan Kelly, by the way. Good to see him out and about. I'm a big fan of his still.
Yeah, you got to get those awkward-looking white dudes out in Australia some quality scrap wins in the UFC.
They can fight, man. They can fight. Like, that's the worst place to go and start trouble. Like, the most unassuming guys out in Australia will just serve you all day long. Don't do it. Like, just don't do it.
But yeah, rough loss for Pitolo. Honestly, he's just going to have to show up in the UFC with more than a pocket boxing game if he's going to be that hittable. Every left hand, he could land 5 shots on Potter in a row, but every single left hook Potter threw hit him. And you can't be that hittable at this level. And
it's kind of the book on him. Like, he's been knocked out before. This isn't his first time.
Callan Potter is, one of the slower and least powerful lightweights out there to be putting it on you.
Yeah, but he was definitely throwing with conviction.
He came to win this, and Maki Pitolo came with the assumption that he was already going to win it.
Yeah, that's a great way to say that.
So, credit to Potter, keeping that UFC career alive. He'll get another fight and chance to keep riding this train until the wheels fall off. And
a la Dan Kelly. What's more Dan Kelly than that?
Yep.
And he'll probably be on that side of the world again.
Yeah.
These guys don't really venture to the western side very much.
For Pitolo, he's going to have to adjust things in a hurry, or he won't be looking at a very long UFC run. That brings us to a lightweight bout. Brad Riddle, Jamie Mullarkey, fight of the night all the way. I'm glad these guys got the extra $50,000 because they put themselves through $500,000 worth of damage out there.
The funny thing is, so I'm watching this fight with my friend, and I'm like, yeah, this fight's a C-. Like, at the end of the first round, or like, I'm like, oh, solid C- right here.
Yeah.
And then, boy, did that fight just heat up. It just completely took off. Like, a brawl broke out, and all credit to Mullarkey here for being like ultra tough. Like,
oh yeah,
Dan Hooker tough, Darren Elkins type tough, because he took a beating but just kept coming. And there was like that one moment where he got rocked, and then like instead of like shelling up or anything, he just like he waved on Riddle. It was like, come on, and then ended up cracking him and hurting him, and like almost had that rear naked choke. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then just proceeded to get just beat on and just would not fall. Like, he would fall from stuffing bad shots. And by the way, credit to Riddle for fighting so hard to not concede the top position.
Yeah.
I love seeing that, where guys are just like, nope, you're not taking me down. And if you do, that's fine, because I'm getting right back up.
Especially from a career kickboxer, you really like to see them not get on their back and just suddenly be like, oh, I don't know. I guess I'll just close my guard and hold on and hope the ref stands me up. Yeah,
because, I mean, usually you see that out of wrestlers, guys who just, their whole lives have been taught to not be on your back. And I really love seeing that. And his stand-up is phenomenal. Like, it's really good. It's fun to watch. Like, he's big. Man, solid debut for him.
Yeah, Brad Riddle looked absolutely great. And credit to Mullarkey, too, like you say. I mean, I think the big thing for him was once he realized that the takedown game wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't going to be there for him to just ride this fight and grind Riddle. Credit to him for just being like, you know what? I'm not going to lose this fight because I won't engage with this guy. I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to trade with him and I'm going to see where it takes me. Yeah. And it almost took him to a shocking win, but also took him to miles and miles of damage. Like, years off your life damage.
Did you see his ear?
Yeah.
Like, can we act like that wasn't a thing? Like, it was so bad. It looked like he was just born with like the mold of it, like where an ear should be, and like all the cartilage and tissue, but it just wasn't cut out and formed. Like, it was like it's like a cartoon ear or something.
What he had is he had the Reebok pump ear, where like, you hit it and pump. You got to get some air back in there.
Oh man. But
It
what
was
a war!
nasty.
I'm glad these guys got paid because
Yeah.
that was all effort on both sides, and it started out so like just regular and ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, turned into a grease fire.
Yeah, they got to put Riddle in with some more dudes who are going to throw hands with him.
Oh yeah, and there's plenty of them at lightweight.
Yeah. Hope maybe they'll stick him in there with like Atman Azaitar or something like that. Just other raw dudes, worthy other raw dudes at the bottom of that division who just want to strike in volume as much as possible. Saw somebody suggest Lando Venata, and honestly, just after the brutal fights Venata's had, I'm just like, no, just let Venata do something else. Fight only grapplers or something for a while.
Or like just take some time off. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
Because he is really talented and like it's a cool like crossover story about, being a BMX rider who just was like, hey, I like fighting also. But yeah, he definitely needs some time away.
Still, awesome win for Riddle. Certifies him immediately as a must-watch action fighter in the lightweight division. And
oh man, David Tamor would be like the perfect fight for him.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Oh yeah, like 0 takedowns, just 100%. We're just gonna punch each other.
That's the kind of thing I want to see. Maybe get him up there. Maybe get him a couple wins and then throw him in there with Merbek Taisimov.
Yikes. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But I'm a Taisimov fanboy, so.
I just want to see these dudes. I just want to see this dude fight dudes who are going to kickbox with him,
Well, yeah. I mean, Carlos Diego Ferreira, he's proven that he's willing to stand and bang.
True. That'd be a hell of a thing. But yeah, there are fun fights that Riddle can have if he can string together 2 or 3 wins and really get into the meat of this division. That brings us to a women's featherweight bout. Megan Anderson, Zara Farron dos Santos, and credit to Farron. She came out, knew she had to put it on Anderson as much as possible, as quick as possible, and didn't really have the skill to do it, but gave it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, she did her best. And for me, this is all Anderson. Like, coming out, taking top position, and like landing some quality strikes and like showing some knowledge on the ground after getting submitted the way she did in her last fight, and like letting her opponent roll into and setting up the triangle right away. Like that was good news. That was tons of good news for me. So her doing all the right things on the ground, forcing the tap. I mean, I needed to see that out of her.
Yeah, it's just too bad that they literally have nothing out there booked for her to fight next. Like,
yeah, because the division doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, great, you won, but where do either of these women go next? Felicia Spencer is the only other featherweight. Bellator, yeah. I don't know what the UFC is doing with. I don't know what they're doing with fights like this. I don't know. Do they cut Farron right away? Do they try to force both of them down to bantamweight? I don't think Anderson. She and Santos or Farron are both over 6 feet tall. Like, they're not making 135.
No, definitely not. You got to just keep bringing people in. But like, that's really been that's been the curse of that division since always. Yeah. You either have oversized bantamweights or you have nobody.
Yep.
That's just kind of what it is. And the best featherweights, women's featherweights, are in Bellator.
Yeah.
Julia Budd and Cyborg.
Yep, at this point.
I mean, I guess you can let her fight Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
Shit, well, I mean, what else is there? Run it back with Kat Zingano.
You got to force Nunes or Durandamy back up to 145 or Holm back up to 145. Otherwise, you don't have a division right now.
She already fought Holm once.
Yep.
Is Zingano still with the UFC or did she leave?
Who?
Kat Zingano?
Oh, no, she left.
I was going to say, man, they can run that back since it had such a weird ending.
Nope, she left. She's gone. So.
Yeah, that division. I don't know, man. Like, it's a phantom division. Like, it just doesn't exist. So it's going to be like, I guess they can keep bringing in people like this to fight her, but I mean, what are they doing? What are they doing?
All right, early prelims. Ji-yeon Kim beat Nadia Kassem, and that was the catharsis win of the night, I think.
After that referee stepped in at the worst possible time.
That he stepped in at the dumbest time for a dropped mouthpiece, just as Ji-yeon Kim's really turning it on Kassem, and after Kassem opened the fight with the fake glove touch to body kick.
Oh, that's disrespectful.
And then immediately got knocked down by a hook, like next punch.
That's the old, who was it? Eric Silva and Nordine Talib?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no respect for people that do that. And number two, like, Nadia does not look like UFC material.
No, she never has. And
like, if I'm seeing that caliber in the UFC, it better be a gimmick, right? It better be like a CM Punk or like a one and done or like some special situation, not just like some random person out here. Like, because she's not polished enough to be in the UFC, in my personal opinion.
No, she only beat, on the regional scene, she only beat the worst level of can crushing, just totally inexperienced, never fought before or never won before opponents. And then she snuck out a win over, a 40-year-old, like 5'1", Alex Chambers.
Yeah. In
her debut at 115 pounds after weighing in 5 pounds overweight.
This is a Bellator move here.
Yeah.
It's like she's not a bad looking woman, but like she doesn't fight very well.
Yeah.
And like I shouldn't have to see that in the UFC.
It's definitely, and the weird thing is though, is that it's nothing to do with that. It's just all to do with this camp, this Mokhtarian camp down in Australia, where the UFC's brought in like 5 of their fighters. Somebody must have a connection to the UFC front office, because you got like Ashkan Mokhtarian, Suman Mokhtarian, Nadia Kassem, and one other fighter too, whose name I can't remember right now.
Favors.
Alex Gorgees.
Clown
and
shoes.
None of them have been even slightly ready for this level of competition, and they've just all gotten the floor absolutely mopped with against any decent fighter they've faced. So
favors. They're called favors.
Yeah, I guess it's weird bookings, and the UFC's gotta they gotta be seeing this and go like, you know what, we can't do this anymore. This looks bad.
Yeah, like I understand CM Punk's, like I get it.
Yeah,
this is just, it's poppycock. And for Kim, like, I'm glad she won. Like, the karma needed to be issued out there, and she almost got screwed out of a potential finish.
Yeah.
But this is her second time in a row missing weight.
Yeah.
That's not a good look. And like the first time, it was by a substantial amount, right? Like she weighed in like 5.5 pounds over, or 4.5 pounds over last time.
You weighed 5.5 pounds overweight last time, and 3 pounds over this time. And she's got to figure out her weight cut, or go back to bantamweight. That's where she used to be.
Yeah, she's got some wins there. But yeah, it was good to see her get the finish. Cause 1, karma. 2, Nadia just doesn't belong there.
Yeah. That brings us to our opening bout of the night. Khalid Taha, Bruno Silva. Pretty decent fight. Taha, he missed weight. He came in heavy too, but he looked slick out there and dropped Silva early in each round. Silva battled back pretty well with a good wrestling attack. And Taha, though, Silva gassed. I think that was the big thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're fighting someone, you see that a lot when someone doesn't make weight.
Yeah.
Like, Well, there's like two ways that'll go. Either the guy tried so hard to make weight and just couldn't, so he gasses, or they're just so big that the guy that they're fighting can only keep up for so long before that weight starts to wear on them, especially if you're trying to wrestle them.
And I think part of that there, too, in this fight is that Bruno Silva, he's fought at flyweight before, and he did look like a flyweight out there. Like, Khalid Taha is only 5'7". He's not some monstrous bantamweight, even if he didn't make weight very, very well for this bout.
He's got some muscle on him, though.
He's got muscle on him. I'm just saying that he's not, there are dudes who are like 5'11" in the bantamweight division.
Yeah.
For Silva, he looks like a flyweight. He looks like a dude who should be fighting down a division.
And credit to Taha for getting the submission here.
Yeah.
Because Silva's no joke on the ground.
Yeah, I think he really just gassed himself out and gave up a couple of bad positions late, but credit to Taha for just jumping on it real quick. He's very much a fighter who can compete anywhere. If he's got a serious skill disadvantage to somebody, he'll give up takedowns or he'll give up submission opportunities or he'll get boxed up a little, but if you don't have those serious advantages, he can compete in any area. So,
and he was smart to drop a bunch of ground strikes before he went for the submission. Because the old adage, you take a black belt, you punch him in the face, he's a brown belt, da-da-da-da-da.
Yep.
Especially if they're gassed.
Good performance from Taha. Weight miss wasn't great, but overall, strong win to continue his bounce back from a bad debut up at featherweight against, Nad Narimani. So.
Oh, yeah, Nad. Good old Nad.
Overall, though, just not, even in hindsight, even going back and looking at it, Brad Riddle, Jamie Malarkey stands out. A lot of the rest of these fights come with all sorts of weird asterisks or, just half of the fight performed incredibly poorly, did not look like they were even, it's hard to look at Tuivasa and Tafa and Ackman and Patolo and Zarafan and Kassem. It's hard to look at all of them and see performances that belong at this level.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
These weren't losses for fighters who really put it all out there and just didn't get the win. It's not Bruno Silva going out there and working hard and clearly showing some skill, or Jamie Malarkey going out there and biting down and really, going through hell in a bad loss, or even Luke Jumo, who, wasn't the most fun fight, but he came out with a game plan. He hurt Lima a couple times. He tried to stay competitive.
He at least looked like he belonged. I mean, even Iaquinta, at least his technique was there.
Yeah. For everybody else, though, they looked like fighters who just did not have enough experience to be at this level. And that kind of sucks for a pay-per-view card.
Yeah, it does. But I mean, look at the records though: 5-2, 6-3, 6-2, 3-1.
Yeah, they are what they look like, which is fighters who don't have enough experience to fight at this level.
Yeah.
At least wrapping it all up, we got the send off was a fantastic middleweight fight. Adesanya with that huge knockout win over Robert Whittaker. Just a brilliant performance from him, and it sets up an immediate fun middleweight fight next that I can't wait to see.
Yeah, Whittaker showed up, but so did Adesanya. And Adesanya is the best middleweight on the planet as of today.
Yeah.
Undisputed.
And win or lose, every time out at this point, I'm going to be showing up no matter what when he's fighting.
Oh yeah, you have to. It's kind of been that way for a minute.
Oh yeah, but
I was fortunate enough to watch him fight Derek Brunson live, and that was just a masterful. I mean, at that moment, I was like, okay, this guy is special. He's leaps and bounds above the status quo here. And then the Gastelum fight was just okay, he has the championship qualities. He has the heart and the toughness.
Yeah.
And then what he did to Whittaker was just masterful. Absolutely master. His vision is second to none.
Yep.
Who's got better vision than Adesanya?
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't say it better myself. So on that note, I'm not going to try. You can find me on Twitter at TheZaneTime. You can find Eddie on Twitter at @TheEddieMercado. We will be back next week for UFC Tampa. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Michelle Watterson. Tune in for that. Thanks, everyone, and we will see you then.